Welcome to Math Pathways. Today we're learning how to factorise brackets, starting with single brackets, and then we'll be moving on to factorising quadratics. Now, factorising just means writing an expression as a product of factors. In simple terms, we're reversing expansion. So let's just take a look at question 1. We've got 2x plus 10. Now, the first thing that we should be looking for is what's common in both terms, or what number or term could you multiply by to get both parts of the expression. So if we have a look at this, we can see that the number 2 will go into both 2x as well as 10. So if we take that out, write that on the side, and then we put a bracket. So we're now looking for what do we multiply 2 by to give us 2x. So we know that if we do 2 times x, that will give us 2x. So we'd write x within the bracket. Now we need to find what do we multiply 2 by to give us plus 10. Now I know that if we do 2 times 5, that will give us 10. Notice that the 5 was positive, hence the number inside the bracket will be plus 5. And then you would close the bracket. And that would be at the end of that one. So one way in which you can just double check to see if this answer is correct is if you then expand this, you should go back to your original answer of 2x plus 10. So if we just give this a go, if we do 2 times x, that will give us 2x, and then, what's that there? And then if we do 2 times 5, that will give us a positive 10. Hence it's taken us back to 2x plus 10, so we know that we're correct. Now I'm not going to go too in depth into expanding brackets for now, as I'm looking to cover that within my next topic, or within my next video. Let's now take a look at question number 2, which is 3x plus 12. So first of all, like we did in the first one, we're trying to find what's common in both the terms, 3x and 12. So from here, we can see that 3 goes into both of these numbers. Now we can open the bracket, and we are now trying to find what would we need to multiply 3 by in order to give us 3x. So 3 times x would give us 3x. Hence we put x within the brackets. And then we're trying to find what do we multiply 3 by in order to give us 12. Now we know that this would be 4. And again, this one's positive, hence it will be plus 4. So that would be your final answer for that one. Let's take a look at question 3 now. So we've got 4x minus 8. A little bit different to the other ones. We have a negative in here. So again, we're going to use the same process, and we're trying to find what's common in both of these. So what's common in 4x and minus 8. So we can see that 4 would go into both of these terms, or you could use 2. I'm going to show you how we'd use both of those here. So let's start with 4, and we're trying to find what would we multiply 4 by in order to give us 4x. You can see that that will be 4 times x, which gives us 4x. So when we open the bracket, it will be x in there, and we're trying to find what do we multiply 4 by in order to give us minus 8, and that would be minus 2. Hence in the brackets will have minus 2. So that's one way to do it. Now, like I mentioned earlier, we can use 2, as 2 will also go into both of these numbers, or terms, sorry. So if we use 2, let's just erase this bit here. So if we have 2, try to find what do we multiply 2 by in order to give us 4x. So we've got 2 times 2x, which gives us 4x, hence we'll have 2x within the brackets. Try to find what do we multiply 2 by in order to give us minus 8, and that will be minus 4. Hence we'll have minus 4 within the brackets. So those are your 2 ways in order to do that one. So if you do feel like there's another common term that you could use, you can do that, as long as you sort of follow the same process and find what multiplies to give you the terms. Okay, so now we're looking at question 4, which is x squared plus 5x plus 6. Now this is the first quadratic that we're looking at, and they are a little bit more complicated than the previous questions that we've just done. However, we're just going to break that down now. So usually quadratics are in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, when you're trying to work this out, we first of all need to find 2 numbers that multiply to give us the constant. So the c, which is this part here, and in our question that would be 6. So what I usually do is I write 6 on the right hand side of my page, and I look for the factors of 6. Now what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for 2 numbers which will multiply to give us 6, which they will because they're factors of it, and we need the 2 factors to add or minus to give us b, which is the middle term in our question. So we're looking for 2 factors that will add or minus to give us 5. So if we go through it now, through the factors of 6, the way that I like to do it is I write the pairs down. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So for 6, we can start with 1. So 1 times 6 gives us 6. So you see how I put them side by side? It's just easier to see when we're looking to add or minus them. So 1 and 6. So that's one of the factors. We've got 2 and 3. And here there aren't any other factors that we could use. So we could do 6 minus 1, which gives us 5. Or we could do 2 plus 3, which also gives us 5. Now, something that I've just put in the top right hand corner, it says useful tips. It is quite useful to have a look at, because what it tells you is if we have a plus and then a plus, so what that's referring to is if you have a plus here and then a plus in that order, it tells you that your factors will be two positives, like that one there. Now, the way in which I've written it is quite important, because let's say, for example, there is one where there is a positive and a negative. For that one, the factors will be one positive and one negative. However, if you switch that around and it's a negative first here and then a positive here, so within the question, then your two factors will be negative. So it is something that we'll look at a little bit. Okay, so now that we've established that we've got two positives, because obviously we've got a plus here and a plus here, and as the tips say, we're going to use two positives, that tells us that the two factors that we choose will have to be two positives. So we obviously can't use 6 minus 1 because there was a negative there, so we'd have to use plus 2 and plus 3. Now, that becomes a lot easier when we do put it in the brackets, so it will simply look like x plus 2, x plus 3. Now again, you can expand this just to double check that your answer is correct, but as of the time of recording, I haven't gone through expanding brackets just yet, so I won't be going through that just yet. So therefore, x plus 2 times x plus 3 will be your final answer, as shown. Okay, so let's go on to question 5, which is x squared minus 8x plus 15. So we can see here, if we look at the useful tips, we can see that this question will get us to find two negative factors, because we've got it in order, minus and then plus, just like this one shows. So if we start by looking for the two numbers that will multiply to give us c, which is 15 in this case, and then we'll add or minus to give us minus 8. So we're going to start by looking for the factors of 15. So we've got 1 and 15, and we've got 5 and 3. Now, looking at it straight away, we can already tell that in order to get anywhere close to 8, we would have to use 5 and 3. We wouldn't really be able to use 1 and 15. And as the tip suggests, we will need to use the two negative versions of this. So that will be minus 5, and that will be minus 3. So when we write that in, we'll have x minus 5, and we will have x minus 3. Okay, so we've got question 6 here, which is x squared minus 5x minus 24. We can see here that there are two negatives within the question. And if we look at our useful tips, that tells us that one of the factors will be positive and the other will be negative. So if we look at 24, we're going to find the factors of that first of all. So we've got 1 and 24, we've got 2 and 12, 3 and 8, we've got 4 and 6. Now, there aren't any other factors here, and we do know that one of the factors will be positive and one will be negative, and we're trying to find ones that will add or minus to give us minus 5. Now, the one that sticks out to me is 8 and 3. So we can see that if we use positive 8 and then minus 3, apologies, I meant if we use positive 3 and minus 8, that will give us negative 5. So if we put that within the brackets, we've got x plus 3, we've got x minus 8. So you see what we did there? Even though it was a negative 24, I'm not looking for factors of negative 24 there. I'm just looking for the factors of 24, and then using the useful tips that I've written at the top right, using that to tell me if I should be using a negative or positive. So that's looking at question 7 now, which is 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. So this one's a little bit different to the previous quadratics that we've looked at, because we can see that the coefficient of x squared is greater than 1. So the coefficient of x squared just means the number before the x squared. So in this case, it's 2. Now, the difference with this one is that when we start by doing it, we will look at multiplying the coefficient of the x squared by your constant, which in this case is 3. So we'll do 2 times 3, and that gives us 6. And what we'll do is we'll look for the factors of 6. So I know that it's 1 and 6, and 2 and 3. And we're again still looking for factors that will add or minus to give us the middle term. The middle term in this case is plus 7. So we can see if we had 1 plus 6, that will give us 7. So those are the factors that we're going to use in this one. The difference with this one is at this step right here. So instead of just writing 2x, or normally we would write x plus 1, x plus 6, in this one we're going to sort of write out the equation again. So 2x squared, and then I'm just going to include the factors in this bit here. So we've got plus 6x plus x. Now, this bit that I'm doing here is just the same as this 7x here, but I've just used the factors that I'd add to give us that. And then I would add 3, which is just carrying on from this bit here, which is your constant. And then from there, what we would do is we would sort of break up the equation or split it in half. So I'm just going to draw a line down the middle there. And now we're going to just factorise the left-hand side. So when we factorise that, we can see that the term that goes into 2x squared and 6x would be 2x. So we have that on the outside of the bracket. And then on the inside, we're trying to find what do we multiply 2x by to give us 2x squared. So that would be x. And then we're looking for what would we multiply 2x by to give us this 6x. So that would be plus 3, because 2x times 3 equals 6x. Now, because we have split it here, right, whatever you get in this bracket here, we would just copy that over onto the right-hand side. And in this case, we've got quite lucky where it's worked out exactly the same, but it won't always be like that. But what you would have to do is you would need to find the number that would go here, that would multiply by this bracket here. Oh, sorry, I should have drawn an arrow there. So we need to find what number would multiply by this bracket here to give us this bit of the equation here. So in this case, because it is the exact same, we know that would just be 1. And what you would do is now you would combine this together to give you the final answer. So we would have whatever's in the bracket as one of the brackets. So that's x plus 3. And then to find the other one, we would look at the 2x, so the bit that comes before the bracket, and then the 1 here. So that would just give us 2x plus 1. And that would be your final answer. If this helped and was useful at all, please like and subscribe for more GCSE Maths tips. I'm going to be uploading a lot more videos covering some of the past paper questions and more topics. And if you do have any questions, feel free to comment below, or you can contact me on my socials, which I'll link below in the description.